What's up, everyone? You are tuned in to another episode of Embrace the Madness. I was looking at my analytics and I didn't realize it had been 2 months. So, thanks so much for your patience and your willingness to stay with me, even though we're just out here. We're out here vibing. So, yeah. And I think that's a whole other podcast topic, too. Just, I don't know. I feel like maybe we've all been going through it energetically. And so I have to remember that usually, more often than not, I'm not the only one going through it, even though it feels like it. And I kind of had to come to a understanding where, like, Madeline, if you're not doing your podcast and if you're not, showing up who you're meant to be, then think about all the people who aren't getting what they need out of it, who aren't getting inspired, who aren't making the most out of their lives too. And so essentially, I had to have a come to Jesus because I mean, the feedback that I get from y'all for my podcast and for DJing, I feel like there's something that I meant to do and I can't just not do it. And I understand that I have to, go through my things and be able to process what's happening in my life too. But yeah, it just gave me a little bit of perspective. So I'd be super happy to share that journey with you. But today is a special episode because I wanted to talk about how I manifested my first festival gig at Mempho at the beginning of October. And this is it's actually really wild how it all happened. And I also forget sometimes that literally my entire musical career has been what's the verb for chronolog I don't really know, but if someone wants to let me know. Um, Basically the whole Chronicles, whatever, which makes me think of the Chronicles of Narnia. But anyways, maybe chronicle is a verb, whatever. So yeah, if you go back, like I had just started DJing and getting into music when I started this podcast. And so it's really cool to trace back and say, "Oh, shit, I just started then." And then to be able to come on here, do a podcast episode about how I played a first festival gig. So, yeah. And I think that's also played into where I've been the last couple of months because being getting getting something that you have been dreaming about and hoping for and praying for is kind of a lot energetically. And this kind of inspired another idea for a podcast because I've been realizing that it's been this weird, and maybe I should just explain all this at the end because it's like I'm trying to discredit my success. But that's what I wanted to talk about is like why has it been something that I've been putting off celebrating? Like, is this something that's like a pattern in my life? Which I don't even think that's a question. It's like a declarative statement. But yeah, we'll talk about that later because I think I need to share the journey. So, yes, if you have been listening to the podcast, then you know I started DJing for real, for real. I think my first gig was December of 2019. So, I think I had gotten aboard when we got back from Bali. I think like sometime in fall of 2019. So that's when I was really able to practice because before that I was like using iPhone headphones and this little like MIDI pad thing. So fast forward to now, I guess. But well, actually, okay. Sorry if the story seems all over the place. I'm going to try to keep it as chronological as possible. Um so I've probably shared a little bit about manifestation and how I took this course with Catherine Zankina And before I invested in this course this past year, she had done like this free workshop on Instagram. Um, Maybe that's different. Well, she does this program in for New Year's called Epically Aligned. And so that one's like less expensive than the big fat course. So I was like, let me do this. It's only like $111. And one of those goals that I wrote down was to play a festival. And I shared the picture on social media, but I had written like play a festival, 10,000 in the bank, 1,000 followers, book publish, EP, whatever, whatever. And for some reason, like the festival one just kept sticking out. So this all happened in January. And so through this kind of journey of learning what manifestation is and is not, well, the first step is to like get clear about what it is you want. So at that point I was like, okay, well, I want to play a festival. Well, the second one step is like trusting that it's happening already. So like for me to go from this place of like, okay, I want to play a festival to, okay, well, I trust it's going to happen. You can imagine that since I started in 2019, that's 2 years. And I mean, obviously, a lot can happen in 2 years, but so many things just like started coming in my brain. Like, why do you think that you would be able to DJ a music festival? Like, Mempho doesn't even have EDM. You've only been doing this a couple of years. You don't know enough, you're not experienced enough. Like, why would they pick you? And so going from these beliefs to a place of trust is like, how do you do that? And so I'd be super happy to share kind of my experience with that too, because I think that that's been a big part of the whole manifestation process that I've been having trouble with. And I know I wrote a blog post about it, but like having faith is not something that I had. I think a lot of people growing up, um, and this is me assuming, but you were taught about faith and having faith in God and Jesus and all these things in religion. And I didn't really grow up like adamantly religious. And so I think that faith is kind of this element that was missing from my life experience. So when learning about how manifestation works and understanding that faith as a component, I think that was a huge part. But like, I DJ with WIXR. It's a local radio station here in Memphis. And so it was interesting because what was it? I think it was a volunteer gig that I worked and I saw that they had like Mempho stickers and Mempho koozies. And I was like, I wonder if this is a sign. And I was like, I don't know. And like, it's not like when I wrote down on my list that I knew Mempho was the one I wanted to play, because I think a big part of it is like Mempho's like more folky, indie than it is electronic dance music. It's actually not really even electronic dance music. So honestly, Mempho wasn't even like on my list. I think when you think of music festivals, you think of, for me, I think of like Bonnaroo, EDC, even Lollapalooza, Wakan, like things like that. So, and there's so many more, but like Mempho was like not on my radar at all. And so, yeah, I had seen the koozies and seen the stickers, and like I think it was like planting little seeds. And so, I guess at some point this past year, um, it was announced that Mempho was a sponsor for WIXR, which was even weirder because I love my WIXR family. Like, we've been like doing this radio station for a year now. Shout out WIXR. And so like I've become really close and built relationships with these people. So I was like, holy shit, like I wonder if this is a way for me to ask. And of course, like the limiting beliefs start coming up like, "Oh, there's no way it's going to happen. You're not good enough. You're too new. You're just not experienced enough." And like I guess one day I don't really even remember like the timeline of events, but I did just check the date and I had talked to um the general manager, let's see, in April, I think. So at that point, Mempho is in October. So that's like lots and lots of, well, 6 months. But, anyways, I heard that Mempho was going to be announcing their lineup over the air on WIXR. And so I was like, oh my goodness. I wonder if I can ask Robbie and JB if I could maybe possibly DJ at Mempho. And I think this was like through me working volunteer gigs and like, you know, letting my gears in my brain turn and just like get creative. And so I was like, it's on my vision board. I wrote it down, which I'm sure sounds like silly or naive to people or whatever. This is all happening in my brain. So they're like, yeah, we'll talk to somebody or pass your information along, whatever. And so, yeah, that happened in April. And so, of course, I'm like getting really excited and getting really like, "Ah, ah, ah." But I also had to remind myself, like, well, if it doesn't happen, it's okay. Because I think getting too attached and too excited and too like almost like codependent with it, like, oh my God, I won't survive without you. I think that kind of, at least I've been learning that this energy implies like lack or implies that you don't already have it or implies that it's just like too strained, like imagining like a friendship where it's like that and you're like, I'm like obsessed with you, and if we don't hang out, like I'm really upset. Like you as a friend is like, I gotta go. So I think energetically that was something that I had to be mindful of, which going back to the whole faith thing, like having faith that it was happening or if it's meant to be, it will happen. So just like a lot of really conflicting emotions happening, but I had to remind myself to just chill, just chill. And so like I would be lying if like every few weeks I'd be like, I wonder if I should ask them. I wonder if I should ask them if they've talked to anybody, like maybe. And I know that I think what was it? What? I had done some volunteer thing, but I thought it was for Labor Day, but maybe not. I'm not sure, but I remember asking and he was almost like, "Are you going to put me on the spot?" And I was like, "Oh shit. I just need to be patient." Which like the inside of me is like, "Ah." So, I think what happened? Okay. Yeah, there were so many times that I didn't think it was gonna happen because I was like, "Damn, it's too late. Like, it's already July, September. I haven't heard anything." And, like, going from April, May, June, July. That's 4 months of, like, patiently waiting, and I'm doing that in air quotes because that's a long time to patiently wait when there's nothing certain set in stone. So I would remember going to, I think, a show and asking one of the DJs who had played Mempho a couple years ago. And I was like, oh my God, I am trying to see if I'm going to be able to DJ. Like, I talked to the radio station and they said they were going to talk to somebody. And he was like, oh, well, they already picked the DJs. And I was like, my heart sank a little. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, are you for real? And he's like, yeah. And it was like I had this little voice inside of me that was like, "Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. You haven't been explicitly told that you're not DJing it." So I think that you're kind of like in this limbo that you still could, because how do you know that they haven't picked you? Kind of. So yeah, on the way drive home that night, and I don't even remember. This must have been like in June or July or something. And I'm like driving home, and that voices is like getting louder. Like, just because they've picked them doesn't mean that you haven't been picked. You just might have not been told yet. And so I was trying to stay in that energy, and also staying in the energy of like, if it's meant to be, it will. And if it's not, it's not. Because a big thing that I've been learning too is this or something better. So I could write like playing a music festival. And if I want it to be Mempho, it might not be, and it might be something bigger. Like, we don't really know what's happening always. And more often than not, at least I believe that everything happens for a reason and things are working out in my favor. And so if it's not this, then something better is going to come. And that I just need to trust that. And goodness gracious, like coming to this point where I can have this much trust and faith that everything's going to work out. Like, it's taken a long time and a lot of hard work, and like getting real with myself and telling myself like, look, dude, if you really want to do this, you have to commit. You can't worry about you just can't worry about the little stuff anymore. You have to trust that like if you're meant to do this, it will happen. And if you're not, that's okay. And yeah, I've been learning to let go a lot these past few months. So it's just a whole ass journey. But so kind of find out, I think it was like mid July. My timeline on this whole thing is kind of like I'm trying to piece it together, and anyways, oh, that gig might have been 4th of July. No, who knows? Anyways, so mid July, I am at this jazz night at a venue with some friends. And my friend that works with the radio was there. And he comes up to me and he's like, "You got the gig." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "You got the gig at Mempho." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, I like was just in disbelief. And I was like, "You're gonna make me cry." And like it was just crazy, like in that one moment that seemed so like simple and normal. And I was even a little tired, and like I think we had been like drinking and swimming all weekend, and like was just tired, and it was like a Sunday. But like everything changed in that one moment. And it was the weirdest feeling. I didn't really start crying that loud, but like I just couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that it was happening, and that's I had written something down on a piece of paper, and it was going to happen. Like, this is the shit that like I don't know, like everything, and I think it's a big part of like some of my limiting beliefs, but like we're taught that like this is just shit that happens in movies. This is just something that happens to like I don't even know. We're just taught and shown that this isn't real life and this doesn't happen. So like for me to try to process this and make sense like no, this is happening was just like this big whirlwind. And so I guess like yeah, it was just really cool, and I was like really excited to announce it, and like it's easily the biggest moment of my career so far. So it's just been it was like a whole I just have no words, honestly. Like, I think my brain is still wrapping itself around, like, the fact that it happened. And Yeah, I'm almost still speechless, but it was awesome. Like, it was insane. It was, I mean, obviously nothing that I could have even ever imagined, but yeah. So, yeah, I had just gotten really excited and like promoted it. And when we get to the festival, like all my friends from Nashville had come and it was just so special. And they had stayed all weekend. We just kind of had like a big 3-day party and it was crazy. It was in the Fire Dome. I got to like I wasn't like the official headliner, but I mean I was the last DJ that was playing for the weekend, so yeah, I can milk it if I want to. But yeah, it was awesome. They were awesome. They were dancing and everybody loved the stuff. And then at one point, it looked like the whole entire dome was full and there was a line of people and easily the biggest show I've ever played. So that was awesome. And getting to hear from people like at the end of my set that it was like the most crowded that they had seen the dome all weekend and that I did an awesome job and that it was like the best set of the weekend and I was just like, "Holy shit, what are you saying?" And like and that's yeah, that's why I want to talk about why it's so hard to celebrate our success too because that's a whole other topic. But yeah, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. It was also like all the proof that I need to understand that manifestation like is a thing. And I know that it seems like such a buzzword type thing and that it is such like a cliche thing and everybody's manifesting and blah 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 and people are just sitting down thinking about something, visualizing something and then poof it comes true, but I'm here to tell you that actually it takes a lot of work. And it's like this this relationship between faith but also like taking inspired action. They call it inspired action because you have to get really in tune with your intuition. And remember when I was talking about all those like beliefs that started coming up and started telling me that I wasn't good enough and started telling me that I wasn't going to make it, blah, blah, blah. Like, those are things that I had to listen to and sit with and try to figure out where they were coming from. Because, and I feel like this is the beginning of many more manifestation podcasts, but what I learned is that these beliefs that we have are running on autopilot. So if I'm constantly in my day to day life thinking that I'm not good enough, this is going to create the reality that I am living in. So I'm always going to find reasons that I'm not good enough, experiences that show me I'm not good enough, and all of these things. And so I definitely had to get really clear on why do I not think I'm good enough for this? Like, why do I think I'm too new? Why do I think that it's not possible that I could totally play electronic music at this like indie folk festival? There's a lot of debunking that I had to do. And then there's also a lot of inspired action. Like, imagine what would happen if I never asked Robbie to put in a good word, or if I let those beliefs overpower like my psyche and say like, "Oh, well, I'm not good enough, so I'm not even going to like put myself out there." So there's a lot of avenues where this could have gone differently. And I think I'm also just like trying to stay in the space of gratitude to the people at WYXR because they have believed in me and because they gave me that call a year ago and asked if I wanted to do a radio show. And I think staying in this gratitude has helped me stay in a more positive mindset because that's another thing too. Like, it could go one of two ways. I could stay in this positive mindset and be hopeful and believe that there's some inkling of possibility that it could all work out, or I could not be grateful and be looking at all of the reasons why it's not going to work out, I guess. So, yeah, gratitude, faith, action. Oh, action. But yeah, going back to the faith, like there were there were months where I had to just like regulate my nervous system and say, look, if it's meant to be, it will be, and if it's not, it's not. Like you can't lose your mind over it. We have to trust that if it's meant to happen, it will. And I understand that not everybody looks at life that way, but for me, it makes sense. And for me, it's been working out. So this is all I have to share. But I think this really taught me a lot about my manifestation stuff going forward and what it truly means to embody faith and embody action. And so I'm super excited because I think this taught me to dream bigger. Like, yeah, I've got Bonnaroo on my manifestation list and I've got bigger and better things. And of course, it scares the shit out of me. But I think that if I trust that what's meant to be will be, and know that this will happen or something better, and know that I can trust myself and that I have the power and the talent and the skills to create whatever it is that I want. And yeah, I'm really excited. And I think that manifestation doesn't have to be this like magical, I mean, it's magical, but it doesn't have to be like this like mythical, like idealist, like, oh yeah, when pigs fly, like that kind of energy. Like, I think, and I'm really excited because, I did my undergrad in neuroscience. So I'm like super into the science of things, but like, there's literally like scientific evidence and like studies that show that we do create our reality based on our thoughts. So there's just a lot that's happening, but I'm super, super excited to share that with you. I want to post pictures soon because there's so many. And shout out to all my friends from Nashville that came and everybody else in Memphis that came and made time to come see and dance. And I couldn't do it without you. And I'm super excited to see where the future goes. And I'm super excited. I crossed it off my list. So, yeah, on to the next one. I'm super grateful that it happened. I'm super grateful to be recording again. I don't really know what's been going on the last few months, but I'm just trying to lean into it and be patient with myself and trust that everything's happening for a reason, even though that means like being really uninspired. But if you've been feeling uninspired and out of it and tired, please know that you're not alone and that I love you. And let's see. Yeah. If you haven't already seen the Patreon postcards for this month, they are cute and it says trust your magic. You can check out the picture on Instagram or Facebook, or if you haven't been to www.embracethemad.com, you can go on there and see all the stuff I've got going on. There's the Patreon, the podcast, the Maddo music, the blog, which hopefully I can get back into. I did also just start new tiers on Patreon, so you can actually look and see what the tiers look like. I added more tiers for more things for you. Shout out to everyone who's already a member. It's a great place where if you want to kind of dive into all of this, you know, self development and learning about who you are and learning to embrace life and embrace the madness, then it's totally a space for you to do so. There's meditations, there's extra podcasts, there's journal prompts. I just added slots to do coaching. So if you are interested in manifesting cool ass shit in your life, then I would love to talk to you and see where we can go from there. So yeah, check out embracethemadness.com. You can also do patreon.com/embracethemadness. And yes, look forward to many more episodes in the future. And yeah, I will talk to y'all next time. Thanks so much again. This is Madeline. I'll catch you later. Bye. If you'd like access to more podcasts and a postcard each month, check us out on patreon.com/embracethemadness.